Anyways, Patrick, we could be here all day for that. In terms of the route this year, what does it look like? Isn't it an old French Tour de France?
I think it is all French. I can't remember if it might dip for like a few kilometers into Spain, maybe when they're down in the Pyrenees. Anyway, that's by the by. It's pretty much like all French, if barring a few little percents here and there, possibly. But anyway, the 2025 Tour kicks off on the 5th of July, and we start off with a sprint day from Lille to Lille. It's 185 kilometers long. We'll provide an opportunity for a sprinter to get the maillot jaune on the first day of the Tour de France. So you're going to be looking mainly at Merlier, Milan and Philipsen probably to be taking the yellow on that day. Stage 2 is a 210-kilometer stage from Loan-Planck to Boulogne-sur-Mer. This is a pretty flat day apart from towards the end we have two climbs, which is the Côte de Saint-Étienne-au-Mont, which is 900 meters at 10.8%. The Côte de Outreau, 800 meters at 7.9%, and then another little kick up to the line. You're going to be looking at Poggy, you're going to be looking at Van der Poel, Jonas is going to be following. Evenepoel is going to be following. You have lots of, Alaphilippe as well. Big puncher battle on stage 2. Stage 3, we have another sprint day from Valenciennes to Dunkirk, 178.3 kilometers. Only one climb day. Côte de Cassel, 2.3 Ks at 4.5%. Stage 4, we go from Amiens Métropole to Rouen, 174.2 kilometers long. It's very hilly inside the last 60 kilometers, taking in six categorized climbs: the Côte de Triou, the Côte de Jacques-en-Courtil, Côte de Belbeuf, Côte de Bonsecours. I mean, gosh, these are all like somewhere between a K to a kilometer and a half, averaging 6% plus. The last one, the Rampe du Saint-Air, which is 900 meters at 10%. I mean, gosh, this is going to be another puncher day, another day where Poggy might sense some opportunities to gain time on Jonas. Stage 5, we have a 33-kilometer time trial around Cannes. Pretty flat overall, so you're going to be looking mainly at Evenepoel versus Ghana, I expect, for the stage win here. Stage 6, we go from Bayeux to Ville-Normandie. This is a hilly day. It's over 3,000 meters of climbing. It's a very Amstel Gold Race, actually, come to look at it. It's up and down pretty much all day. Plenty of categorized climbs in there. Towards the end, about 5 kilometers from the finish, we have the Côte du Vaudreuil, 1.1k at 7.5%, and then another kick up to the line, which is 700 meters at 9.3%. So one for the punchers and GC contenders once more. Stage 7, we're going from Saint-Malo to the Mer de Bretagne. Saint-Malo, which is a little bit of trivia, so it's the place where the book All the Light We Cannot See is based, for those interested. It's the one bit of trivia that I do know. The Mer de Bretagne, obviously, we know a lot more about. This is where Van der Poel back in 2021 did seemingly the impossible, managed to get the yellow jersey in honour of Raymond Poulidor, his grandfather. It was a very emotional day. It was a great day of cycling, and hopefully we'll have something equally as spectacular. The Mer de Bretagne is 2.2 kilometres at 6.3%. We take it in twice, so we do a little lap, and the entrance steep kind of right-hand bend onto it is the most important part, really. That positioning is absolutely crucial. So I think Van der Poel's going to be pretty eager to replicate what he did, 4 years ago. I can't believe it was 4 years ago. And that is still to this day the only stage win that Van der Poel has at the Tour de France. Stage 8, we go from Saint-Méen-le-Grand to Laval. This is 171 kilometers long. It's got a slight drag up to the line, probably 3% for the last few hundred meters, but it's going to be a sprint more than likely. Stage 9, we go from Signon to Châteauroux. Châteauroux is where Cavendish in 2021 equaled the Eddie Merckx record, and then obviously Cav went on to take that record last year. So Châteauroux's got a big sprinting history, and that's what we're going to be seeing this time round. 174 kilometers, pretty much nailed on to be a sprint. And then the last day of this first week, which is 10 days long, so just don't get too hepped up with the nomenclature of it's a week, it's 10 days long, just forget about it. We go from Eneza to Le Mont d'Or Puy-sur-Sancy. It's over 4,000 meters of climbing on this day. It's 163 kilometers long. Finishing up the final climb, but the Le Mont d'Or is 3.2 Ks at 7.9%. It's climbing throughout the whole day. It's barely flat at all. And that rounds out the first week of racing. It's a long first week at 10 stages long. And what do you make of that first week, Scott?
Isn't it because the 14 juillet is on the Monday, so that's why yeah, okay, I'm with you. Yeah, I think it's very interesting with the time trial as well. Would have loved to have seen the team time trial in there or a bit of cobbles. We're up in Lille, northern France, just not. Yeah, Valenciennes, a few kilometers north of that, we have True-Arenberg, and we're not going there, unfortunately. So, yeah, but it's fine. It'll be interesting. It was one of those weeks where favorites are going to be very nervous and a lot of opportunity for the hardy sprinters, I think. But yeah, what do you think?
I think it's a week that they designed to give Van der Poel chances to take stage wins. Do you think? It looks, I'd say in this first week, I would give Van der Poel stage 2, stage 4, stage 6, stage 7, potentially, as opportunities that he could win. I think there's a lot of opportunities for him. I think they're really setting up trying to get Van der Poel to kind of bait him to attack and, Poggy's attacking instinct over these sorts of terrains to really cause a really, dynamic and explosive GC battle. Even if time gaps aren't big, it's going to be a real spectacle to see all these guys going absolutely full gas, trying to drop each other and fight over bonus seconds. But it is worth noting we are on the northwest coast of France, so there is a strong possibility of some of these flatter stages having crosswinds in there. So just because it's going to be a flat day doesn't mean it'll be an uninteresting day. So you got to be sure to tune in all the time because the tour can have action at any point.
Yeah, that's true. Remember stage one where a few years ago where Carapaz and Enric Mas both crashed out? That was crazy. Yeah, crazy that Mathieu Van der Poel has way more Paris-Roubaix titles than he has stages of the tour. But that aside, what does week 2 look like?
The second week starts off stage 11, Toulouse to Toulouse. It's 156.8 kilometers long. It's not a lot of climbing in the day, but it's all very focused inside the last 50 Ks with multiple uncategorized descents, which are all probably between 1 to 1.5 kilometers long, averaging 6% to 8%, something like that. We have 2 categorized climbs, which we do know of towards the end, which is the Côte de Vielle Toulouse, which is 1.5k at 6.7%, and then the Montée de Pêche David, 900 meters at 9.1%. That crests with just under 10 kilometers to go. Given the frequency of these climbs in the finale, in this last hour of racing, I think that it's going to be certainly one for the punchers and a bit more of a reduced sprint, given the flat nature of the finish. Stage 12, we jump into some pretty high mountains quite soon on, actually. In the second week, we go from Auch to the Hautacam. It's 180 kilometers long. We're taking a very flat day until the Côte de Soulor, 11.8 kilometers at 7.7%. Then we descend down to the Hautacam, 13.6 kilometers at 7.8%. The last time we saw this was in 2022 when Wout van Aert seemingly did the impossible and dropped Tadej Pogacar to launch Jonas Vingegaard to a very decisive day, actually, in the Tour de France that year. So maybe Pogacar can put those demons of that day behind him. Maybe Jonas will be the one to, double down on the Hautacam and really stamp it down as his sort of climb. We'll wait and see. Stage 13. We have an individual time trial from Ludenville up the Peyregoud. Yes, you heard that right. It's an 11-kilometer time trial. The Peyregoud being 8.1 kilometers at 7.5%. It's a very unflat time trial and one very much for the GC contenders. You're going to be looking at Almeida, Poggy, and Vingegaard. I don't know why I put Almeida first. I think it's that Tour de Suisse bias. He won the uphill TT there. But I do think that, Almeida is going to be a good one for that day, but mainly Jonas versus Poggy, more than likely. Stage 14, we go from Pau to Luchon Super Bagnières, taking in the Col du Tourmalet, obviously for the souvenir Jacques Godet, 19 Ks at 7.4%. We also take in the Col Spa or the Pale Sourde, not the Peyregoud, the Pale Sourde, to Luchon Super Bagnières, 12.4 Ks at 7.4%. There's just over 5,000 meters climbing on this day, over 183 kilometers. It's one of the tougher stages of this race. Then to round out the second week, obviously it's a slightly shorter second week because the first week was huge. Stage 15 from Murray to Carcassonne. It's 170 kilometers long. It's hard to tell how this day will go. I think it'll be a breakaway day because it's got 2 big climbs in here. The Col de la Croix de Montarlique, which is 11.5 Ks at 4.3%, but it levels off towards the top, so it more likely averages like 6% most of the climb. And we also have the Pas du Sang, 3.2 Ks at 8.8%. So it's a real breakaway day. I don't think this is one where sprinters will survive. So ergo, it probably goes to the breakaway because the GC riders won't have that much interest in there. So it's it's not an overly long second week, Scott, but there's quite a lot of action going on there with the Otakam, the Pelagoud TT, stage 14 being really difficult with the Tourmalet. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, I wish they included the Alpe d'Huez as much as they include the Tourmalet. Hopefully 2026, but this isn't me. This isn't a review of the route. This is the route. Scott, deal with it. No, I'm looking forward to the Paragoud time trial. That one is very exciting. And I think you mentioned it in our Vingo video where you talked about the stage 16 that we saw, but it wasn't quite. We haven't really seen that mountain time trial since La Planche de Belleville, or am I wrong?
Um, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't go straight up.
Yeah, going straight. I mean, the Planche de Belleville one in 2020 was still like there's had the flat rolling
Yeah,
terrain
true,
before then.
true.
The last time a tour's had like a pure, just pretty much mountain TT from start to finish.
I can remember it. Like I can remember the Giro having it, but I can't remember the
Yeah.
Tour having like start from the bottom of Alpe d'Huez and finish at the top. Love to see that, but I mean that aside, that's not for this video. Yeah, what does the final week, because that's the one I really want to get into. What does that look like?
The third week of the Tour de France, the final week, starts with stage 16, Montpellier to Mont Ventoux, 172 kilometers long. It's pretty much flat all day. Mont Ventoux, 19.5 Ks, 7.9%. That is the one where I will be at the roadside. I can't wait. Yeah, it's flat and it'll be an interesting one. Whether we're going to have a breakaway win it, a bit like Kwiatkowski winning the Grand Colombier 2 years ago, where break gets up the road and takes the win, or whether the GC teams will control it and try and, take the win. Obviously, the last time we saw this was in 2021, I think it was, when Jonas put Tadej under pressure. We took it in twice, actually, on that day, and Wout van Aert took the victory, which was blew everybody's minds, pretty much. Stage 17, we go from Bolène to Valence. Hopefully, I'll be at the start there, trying to get signatures on my flag. I think this is a mixture of maybe a breakaway day or maybe a sprint. It goes uphill pretty much for like 2 hours of racing, I'd say, up to the Col de Boutière, which is 5.7 Ks at 3.3%, but it just drags like all day up and up and up. And then we kind of go down, taking the Col de Tartaquil, 4.3 Ks at 3.9%. So it's difficult to say. It's a balance between, if sprint teams really want to get a win here, I think they might, put all hands to the pump, which is very possible because the last time we saw a sprint day was in the first week or something like that. And the sprinters might be a little bit desperate for just a little bit of action. So maybe more sprinter team there. Stage 18, arguably the queen stage of the Tour de France. People can, debate that in the comments if they want to. But stage 18 goes from Vif to the Col de la Loze. It's got the most climbing of any of the stages at 5,792 meters over 172 kilometers, taken in the Col du Glandon, the Col de la Madeleine, and the Col de la Loze, finishing up at 2,300 meters. It's the only real high altitude finish of this Tour de France. We don't go to altitude much. I'm considered altitude over 2,000 meters, by the way. But the Col de la Loze, 26.3 kilometers at 6.5%, going through Courchevel. You'll be familiar with the climbs if you watched the Dauphiné or the Tour de France Femme last year, went up the Glandon. Well, they actually descended down the side of it going up, but anyway, that's beside the point. It's going to be a super cool day, and I think, that's the queen day for me. Or you could argue the stage after, stage team from Albertville to La Plagne. We get taken many categorized climbs: the Côte de Héris-sur-Eugène, the Côte de Cèze, the Côte de Play, the Comé de Roseland, and then La Plagne we have, which is 19.5 Ks at 7.2%, finishing just over 2,000 meters. That's the other high altitude finish of the race. So back-to-back difficult days. This one could go to the breakaway given the difficulty of the start. They got climbing pretty much out the gate, so that might initialize a strong breakaway to form. But those are going to be some difficult days back to back. Stage 20 from Nantua to Pont-Allier should be a good day for a breakaway, taking in multiple climbs. It's almost got 3,000 meters of climbing. There's no way the sprinters are making this. Pretty early on, you've got the Côte de la Croix de la Serra, which is 11.8 Ks at 4.2%. That's going to be the breakaway initializer, I expect. If not that, it'll be the Côte de Valhin or the Côte de Château de Pré, which come after that descent. So I think this is one for the kind of, it looks like a bit of a Mate Mohoric day or something like that, or a Casper Asgreen sort of day, where the tough ruler breakaway guys really make it stick. And then lastly, stage 21 from Mont-la-Ville to Paris. Oh, sorry, Paris. Went out of touch there for a second. Taking in the laps around the Champs-Elysees, but with a twist. Much to the sprinters' delight, who had a pretty barren last 2 weeks of this race, because they've introduced the Côte de la Butte Montmartre, which you'll be very familiar with if you watched the Olympic road race last year. They had this climb in there. That is 1K at 5.7% on cobblestones. Just, add a little bit of spice in there. Why not? Who knows what this will be, actually, because we've never seen it before. So it could be a sprint, or it might initialize a bit of a tougher day than expected. And who knows whether the GC fight might still be up for grabs. You might see an aggressive Pogacar if he's not in the lead of a race by this point. But what do you think of the last week, Scott?
I'm very excited for that final stage. Obviously, Jens Buck gave his opinion about it, and he said it's going to be a nervous day for the GC. Jonas Vingegaard has said his part where we were talking about that in another video, that he's nervous about it because it's not like the Olympic field. There's a lot of riders coming in, but also those big stages that you talked about before are going to be very interesting. And it also means that those big stages and then going to the final stage is not that ceremonial stage. And if it is close, that could be so cool. If we have like Pogacar and Vingegaard within 20 seconds of each other by the time we get to stage 21, oh my goodness, that's going to be funny. But, well, maybe if it's Vingegaard leading Pogacar more than the other way around, because we both agree he's the better one-day racer. But yeah, no, it's going to be a big smash, the last one. And yeah, commiserations to the sprinters. You haven't had Champs-Elysees last year, and then you're like, we return to normal. And it's like, nope. Paris punishes you twice, the Olympics. So the Olympics took it away last year, and they've altered it this year. So any sprinters is just going to be cursing the Paris Olympic route.
They will be, won't they? The sprinters don't actually have that many opportunities in this race, in my opinion. I'd say
How many do you count? How many do you count?
Probably 6, I'd say. Let's say stage 1, 3, 8, 9. I'm scrolling. Maybe 17 and then 21. I don't think it's a lot. And that's even saying that, stage 17 goes to the sprinters and not a breakaway, and that stage 21 is a sprint and not some sort of weird kind of reduced puncheur affair.